Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are breaking down 5 powerful truths about data strategy that might just change the way you work. You know that feeling of drowning in data but absolutely starving for real results? Well, if that sounds familiar, you are definitely in the right place. So many companies feel this pressure. They pour a ton of money into complex technology, they hire brilliant data scientists, and they talk a big game about being data-driven. But when it comes down to it, they're just not seeing the results they were promised. It's an incredibly common and, let's be honest, a really frustrating trap to be in.
All right, so here's our game plan. We're going to start by unpacking that common data-driven trap, and then we'll walk through 5 truths that honestly offer a much smarter path forward.
So, what exactly is this data-driven trap? Well, it's the deeply mistaken belief that technology is the ultimate answer. Let's dive into why that approach so often falls flat.
Here's the big secret. The solution isn't about buying another expensive tool or some fancier dashboard. The real, game-changing breakthroughs, they come from a fundamental shift in mindset. They come from challenging our most basic assumptions about how data even creates value in the first place.
Okay, so our very first truth gets right to the heart of the matter. It tackles the single biggest obstacle to data success and, surprise, it has almost nothing to do with technology.
Our first instinct is always to look for a tech solution, the perfect platform, the best software. But the real barrier, the thing that grinds progress to a halt every single time, is almost always human and organizational. It is all about the company culture.
This quote just nails it, doesn't it? There are no magic bullets here. Success doesn't cop out of one brilliant idea or one killer app. It comes from the hard, relentless, sustained effort of weaving data into the very DNA of a company. And that takes serious long-term commitment right from the top.
Now let's move on to our next truth, because this one really builds on that idea. It reveals a massive, and I mean massive, hidden cost that comes with all that shiny new technology.
Okay, this number is just staggering. Experts say that for every single dollar you spend to develop a new algorithm, you should expect to spend $100 to actually get it deployed successfully and get people to use it. 100 times more. Just let that sink in.
So where does all that money go? I mean, this breakdown says it all. The code itself, that little algorithm, is a tiny, tiny sliver of the real cost. This is a huge budgeting blind spot for so many leaders because the vast majority of the expense is in the hard, messy, expensive work of integration, training your teams, and managing the cultural shift to actually make it stick.
Our third truth. This one reveals a fundamental weakness in most data strategies. It's about that huge gaping chasm between finding an insight and anyone, actually doing something about it.
We've all seen this diagram a million times. Data leads to insight, which then leads to action. Looks so simple, right? Wrong. It's deeply flawed because it just assumes that people will automatically act on a good insight. But you know what? They often don't. Inertia, politics, other priorities, they all get in the way.
The most successful companies, they redesign this whole process to guarantee the action. Think about TripBam, the hotel rate shopping service. They don't just send you an email saying, hey, we found a cheaper room. No, they created a feature that automatically rebooks it for you, capturing those savings without the customer having to lift a finger.
And that is the crucial point. The strategy delivers undeniable, quantifiable value for the customer, not just to them. It's a huge leap from just providing information to actively creating value. And that kind of service, that's what builds ferocious loyalty.
All right, our fourth truth is about the difference between a document that gathers dust on a shelf and a living, breathing process. It's about the act of governing, not just writing a plan. So many organizations think they're done once they've created some formal data governance plan. But a static document just creates a false sense of security. Real governance isn't a document. It's a continuous, human-centered practice. You have to think of it as a verb, not a noun.
Let's be real, these plans often sit unread. They become outdated almost the second they're printed. The most effective organizations, they rely on things like informal mentoring and direct conversations, actual human interaction to teach people the right way to use data and build that culture from the ground up.
And that brings us to our final truth. This one reveals that sometimes your most valuable, most strategic data, well, it isn't even your own.
Limiting your analysis to only your internal data, your insights, is like using a microscope.
It's fantastic for diagnosing what's already happened, but the real strategic magic comes from outsights, combining your data with external sources. That's like switching from a microscope to a telescope, letting you see what's coming over the horizon.
The impact of this can be absolutely huge. Just look at Walmart. By integrating social media trend data into their search engine, they could better understand what people were really looking for. They knew a search for house was probably for the TV show, not a doghouse. And the result? Sales from those searches jumped by nearly 15%. That's massive.
So let's bring it all home. A winning data strategy really isn't about the tech. It's about people, process, and perspective. It's about making these 5 crucial mindset shifts. As we wrap up, I want you to think about your own organization, your own team. Which one of these 5 truths really hits home? Which one feels like the biggest challenge to how you operate today? And maybe more importantly, what's one small step you could take this week to start a new, more productive conversation around it?